Imagine a country where the color of your skin determined where you could live, what job you could have, and even who you could love. This wasn't a dystopian novel. This was reality in South Africa under a system called Apartheid. For nearly half a century, this policy of racial segregation and discrimination cast a long, dark shadow over the nation. But the human spirit is resilient, and in the face of such profound injustice, a powerful resistance grew. This is the story of that struggler conflict that wasn't just fought on battlefields, but in the streets, in the prisons, and in the hearts and minds of people around the world. So, what exactly was apartheid? The word itself means apartness in Afrikaans, and that was its core principle, starting in 1948. The ruling National Party enacted a series of laws that systematically stripped black South Africans, as well as colored and Indian communities, of their rights. The Population Registration Act categorized every person by race. The Group Areas Act forcibly removed people from their homes to create racially segregated neighborhoods. Education, healthcare, and job opportunities were all dictated by this brutal system. It was designed to maintain the power and privilege of the white minority, but it also sowed the seeds of its own destruction. The initial response from those oppressed was one of peaceful protest. Organizations like the African National Congress, or ANC, organized marches, boycotts, and strikes. They believed in the power of non-violent resistance, inspired by leaders like Mahatma Gandhi. The 1952 Defiance Campaign saw thousands of volunteers intentionally breaking apartheid laws, peacefully inviting arrest to overwhelm the system. The 1955 Congress of the People brought together people from all walks of life to draft the Freedom Charter, a visionary document that declared South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. It was a beacon of hope, a statement of a democratic and non-racial future. However, the government's response to this peaceful dissent was increasingly violent. The turning point came on March 21, 1960, in a township called Sharpeville. A crowd had gathered to protest the hated pass laws, which required black South Africans to carry identification documents at all times. Police opened fire on the unarmed protesters. In the chaos that followed, 69 people lost their lives, many shot in the back as they tried to flee. The Sharpeville massacre sent shockwaves across South Africa and the world. It became terrifyingly clear that peaceful protest alone would not be enough. The government banned the ANC and other liberation movements, forcing them to operate underground. In the wake of Sharpeville, the struggle entered a new, more confrontational phase. The ANC, concluding that non-violence had failed, formed a military wing called Umkhonto we Sizwe, or Spear of the Nation. Nelson Mandela was one of its key leaders. Their initial strategy was to target state infrastructure power plants, transportation links, and government buildings while trying to avoid loss of life. It was a strategic shift from protest to armed resistance. This led to the infamous Rivonia trial in 1964, where Mandela and his comrades were sentenced to life imprisonment. From his prison cell on Robben Island, Mandela would become a global symbol of the fight against oppression, his spirit unbroken. While leaders like Mandela were imprisoned, the struggle continued, particularly among the youth. On June 16, 1976, thousands of high school students in Soweto took to the streets to protest a new law requiring them to be taught in Afrikaans, the language they saw as the language of the oppressor. Once again, the state responded with brutal force. Police fired into the crowd of students. The image of a dying 12-year-old Hector Peterson being carried through the streets became an iconic symbol of the state's cruelty. The Soweto uprising ignited a fire across the country, inspiring a new generation of activists who were fearless and determined to see an end to apartheid. The fight against apartheid was not confined to South Africa's borders. It became a major international cause. The United Nations condemned apartheid as a crime against humanity. Around the world, a powerful anti-apartheid movement grew. People boycotted South African products, musicians refused to play in the country, and athletes were banned from international competitions like the Olympics. This global pressure, which included economic sanctions from many countries, began to isolate the apartheid regime. The combination of internal resistance and external pressure was creating cracks in the system. The government was fighting a war on two fronts, against its own people and against the world. By the late 1980s, the apartheid state was in a crisis. The economy was struggling under sanctions, and the townships were in a constant state of rebellion. The cost of maintaining the system, both financially and morally, was becoming unsustainable. After decades of intransigence, a new president, F.W. de Klerk, recognized that change was inevitable. In a stunning speech in February 1990, he announced the unbanning of the ANC and other political organizations. And then came the moment the world had been waiting for. On February 11, 1990, after 27 long years in prison, Nelson Mandela walked free. It was a triumphant moment, a symbol of hope and the promise of a new dawn. The path from Mandela's release to a new South Africa was not easy. It was a tense period of negotiations, marked by political violence as different groups vied for power. But Mandela's leadership was crucial. He preached reconciliation, not revenge. He and de Klerk worked together to dismantle the legal framework of apartheid and draft a new democratic constitution. For their efforts, they were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. It was a testament to the idea that even the deepest wounds could begin to heal through dialogue and a shared vision for the future. Finally, on April 27, 1994, South Africa held its first ever democratic elections, where every citizen, regardless of race, could vote. Long lines of people snaked for miles, a powerful and emotional sight. People who had been denied a voice for their entire lives were finally able to cast their ballot. Nelson Mandela was overwhelmingly elected as the first president of a free and democratic South Africa. The war was over. Apartheid was defeated. The story of this struggle is a powerful reminder that even in the face of overwhelming injustice, courage, resilience, and a commitment to equality can change the world. Thank you so much for watching. The history of the fight against apartheid is deep and complex, and this is just one part of the story. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories about our shared human history. Let us know in the comments what you think. See you next time.